Hesitation kills. Don't let your company fall into extinction or even fall behind your competitors before you finally learn this lesson. That's this week on the Badass Agile podcast. Greetings, team. Welcome to the Badass Agile podcast. I'm your host, Chris Williams. What's up, my friends? Thank you for being here with me. It's great to see you. Unlike any other time in history, the market is screaming for solutions. Can you hear it? All right, before we dig into it, let's take a moment to remember why we're here. To create an elite tribe of leaders who truly serve their clients and communities by doing what matters and what works, relentlessly chasing value and excellence like a badass. There's so many resources out there about what you need to do to be agile, but we're focused on who you need to become in order to lead teams. So let's hammer down those fundamentals to create a truly unique and powerful force in this industry. If this episode helps you, please help us out. Tell your friends. And why not join in on the conversation in the Badass Agile Listener Lounge on Facebook? All right, look at the forces that are swirling around us. What's going on in the marketplace right now? You got the Great Resignation. You have political and identity divide. You have social media. You have technological evolution like Web 3.0, cryptocurrency, not to mention violent conflict around the globe. Now, all of these are new and shifting forces that companies are caught literally with their pants down in dealing with. We're not ready. And because we're not ready, we're not graceful in how we respond. And if we're not ready and we're not graceful, guess what else? We're not going to be very quick either. And some companies, I'm telling you right now, won't survive because of the way that they respond. Not just the way they respond to the politics, but the way they respond to the shifts and the demands of their customers, their industry, or the community. Now you see, great companies will arise from all of this confusion. Those who aggressively and fearlessly deal with the future are those who will capitalize on it and survive. Now you can pretend that these forces don't affect you. You can pretend that these are strictly capitalist or money matters and that you don't need to care about them. But the truth is this: you can't pretend that your company's in first place when it's actually at the bottom of the pile. And if you're at the bottom of the pile, your future is at risk. The stability of your employment, of your engagement, is not guaranteed. So what must we do? We must stand up and help our companies become better. Let's take these badass agile skills that we've been learning for the last 5 years and help our companies improve the way we respond, the way we react, and the way that we shine in the face of crisis. There has never been a better time. So what specifically do we need to teach our companies? Well, the first thing is to teach leaders to use the principle of maximum value first to communicate your approach. What do I mean by that? When crisis and change and upset occurs, leaders need to get agile in a big hurry to make sure that we're communicating in those places and in the ways that matter most to our people. Like anything else, how we communicate and what we communicate is a backlog, just like a big old list of software features. And we must remember there's a lot of things we could do. There's a lot of things we could say, but not all of them are right. Not all of them will reach our people in the way that we need them to. And here's another point. If you don't have an approach, if you don't know what to say, if you don't know what's needed right now, start with this. Communicate your commitment, your passion, and your care. So often in the past 2 years, I've seen organizations trying to respond to massive change, uncertainty, and even crisis by going away and planning what they're going to say for 6 months. And the way that all of the people under your charge respond to that is by showing that they don't feel safe. They don't feel safe, so they leave. They don't feel safe, so they don't know what to do. They don't feel safe, so their internal levels of anxiety and clinging to the past instead of embracing the future go through the roof. Start with what's human. Tell them that you're on it. Tell them you don't know how to do it perfectly because no one's ever done it perfectly before. But you're on it. You care. This matters. And in this moment, it matters more than anything else to let you know that we're going to be okay. Now, of course, you got to back that up with action. So how do we do that? If we don't know what we're going to do next, if we don't know what the right thing to say or do is, what shall we do? Well, what would Agile insist or require that we do? We're going to propose, or at least help leaders propose, experiments that directly help address your business challenges. Show them how to minimize risk by testing aggressively, keeping experiments short, learning from what goes right and what goes wrong, and then improve. This is all fundamental stuff. Now here's something that's not so fundamental and not so obvious to everyone. Whatever you do, you can't stay attached to any one way. Be comfortable with the idea that you're going to have to kill your darlings. If something doesn't work, no matter how clever you think it is, no matter how much you want it to work, let it go and move on to the next experiment. This is where so often, in times of rapid change and uncertainty, we struggle, don't we? Because we want today to be the same as yesterday. Because we want what we believed, what we trusted, to remain true and be there for us in the future. We have a hard time saying, you know what? The way we used to do things doesn't work anymore. We're going to have to try and accept something else. Here's another mistake that some organizations make. If they're not too slow to respond, if they're not too hesitant to try new experiments, they go all the way the other way in the wrong direction, and they try to find some kind of fast forward button. What can we do as a quick and instant fix, hoping that it makes the pain go away? Why do we do that? Because we're not comfortable with uncertainty and lack of safety. We have to unlearn that. We have to uncondition that. We have to be okay with not being okay for a little while. Now you might be asking, if we don't know, if we're uncertain, if we don't know what's safe, and we don't cling to the past, but we don't fast forward and zoom into the future, what are we supposed to do? Here's what you do. You do what's right for your people and your customers first. You almost never go wrong by putting your focus there. What do my customers need now? Not 6 weeks ago, not 6 months from now, but right here, today. What do they need to hear? What do they need to see? What do we need to offer them or give them? You usually don't have to work too hard to hear where their sentiment is. They'll tell you. They'll post it on social. They'll send you letters. They'll be shouting it out in the streets. Whatever it is your company does, the change affects your customers, and they'll be the first ones to let you know what they want, what they need. And I think in business, we've grown out of the habit of listening to what they're trying to tell us. But most importantly, if you're trying to survive in times of uncertainty and rapid change, don't freeze in analysis and forethought. You got to move. You got to get off the X. You got to do something. You have to take some kind of action, or it's going to look like you don't know what you're doing. Instead, every change, every upset, every challenge is an opportunity to inspire your people with your courage, your massive action, your internal certainty. When you say, I don't know how to do this right, we've never done this before, but we understand, we care, and we're going to put everything we've got into doing right by it. We're going to figure this out together, and we're going to do so fearlessly. I believe that's the most inspiring thing that you can say to your fellow human beings. These are challenging times. They didn't teach you how to handle this in school. What you're going to need is a different set of capabilities. Some badassness, badassery. There's probably a better word for that. And this is what we teach in the Forge, that leaders are actually people who simply go first. These past few years have been so different than anything we've seen in the past half century. And I truly believe that how you show up as a leader, how you show up as a company, matters. This sets the tone for how you succeed in the years to come. Think about it. And stay in touch. Stay in the conversation. Sign up for our mailing list. Make sure that you subscribe to this podcast so that you never miss an episode. We're always here in between your ears. You can check out my services, products, or hire me as a speaker by going to badassagile.com, finding me on Twitter at badass_agile, or on Instagram at badassagile. I look forward to seeing you next time, and until then, stay badass.